Welcome once again, and thanks for coming. If you do have your cell phones, please put them on vibrate or put them on silence. I'd like to recognize and thank Karina Moore, who will be interpreting for the deaf community this evening, and also Robin, to my left, our GIS specialist for the fire team. We'll stick with the same meeting format that we've done in the past, our formal presentation followed by a question and answer period at the end. And with that, we'll start with Incident Commander Greg Ponson.
Thank you. Man, what a pleasure it is to stand before you and actually have some good news. It was a lot better day today. And, you know, we have to thank Mother Nature for giving us this break, but I would also like to credit the hard work of our firefighters out there. And it's, And it's your local firefighters, and it's firefighters from all over the country. And man, they're really busting their tail. And I suspect we will have numerous stories to share. You may have already heard some of those circulating around about some of the valiant efforts yesterday. They did an amazing job. And yes, we lost some structures yesterday, but after flying it this morning, oh my gosh, how many structures were saved was really quite phenomenal. So again, I think the credit goes to those hardworking folks out there that put it on the line yesterday to help us with a pretty good outcome overall. So, yeah. So, you know, we're at about 27,000 acres today. We've got the map with the latest information on that, the burned area, about 27% contained. And I was asked, well, how can we be up to 27% when we lost so many acres yesterday? And the containment is basically a measure of how much of the fire perimeter is actually controlled to the extent that it won't cross given an expected or forecasted wind event. And so we look at that, talking with our operations folks who are out there directing the troops. They do that assessment for how much cold perimeter we have. And this is about where we're at. 27% of the perimeter of this fire is very secure to the point where we can call it contained. And that's the nice thing about some of these lighter fuels, these grass models that we work in. They burn fast, they burn hot, but then they pretty much go out after a day of smoldering. So anyway, that kind of explains how we do the containment. I'm gonna talk a little bit about what the team is focusing on, and then I'm going to turn it over to my operations chief, Mark Gohler, to explain in more detail what our troops are facing out there. So, you know, we're going to have a couple of days reprieve from these ferocious winds that we've experienced, and we're all about taking advantage of that because we want what happened yesterday with those winds to be the last time this fire comes boiling out of these canyons. That's our goal. So let me just say there's two primary things that we're going to be looking at. One is facilitating the repopulation or the reentry of those evacuated areas from the fire standpoint. So we're going to be working hard with the Sheriff's Office to mop up and contain those areas where the houses are so that we can start getting people back to their homes. The second thing we're going to be focusing on is Ramsey Canyon, because that's the next great challenge that we're going to be facing. We're going to be working very hard, primarily at night, to establish some black area to seal off the mouth of that canyon. And I'm going to let Mark talk in more detail about exactly how we're going to do that. But we want to make sure that that whole canyon there, all the way out to where the garden fire burned a few days ago, is sealed up so that in the event it gets established in Ramsey, we've got a fallback position that's going to be in our favor. And that's not going to preclude us then going in deeper into Ramsey to do some work on some lower intensity fire if the weather conditions allow. So that's going to be our primary focus, and then I'm going to let Mark tell you a little more detail of what we're up against.
The mayor told me when he first walked in, he said, "It's good to see you because that means things are going good out there today." Because when you don't show up, it makes him a little bit nervous. So glad to be here tonight. Wanted to talk a little bit about yesterday and what occurred. And as everybody was well aware, we faced an extremely difficult challenge with the weather. The winds were absolutely horrendous. The alignment of the canyon, Miller Canyon, was such that the winds would flow down and push the fire out. The humidities were very dry, very hot, and nothing that nobody in this room is not familiar with. But we'd worked really, really hard in the previous days to try to hold the fire in Miller Canyon. We had actually done some firing up the south side of Miller, going up to the Beatty's property, and fortunately that did pay off, and things went pretty good. Now, before I really get in deep on this, I'm going to go ahead and do the fly around the fire so you can kind of see what the current perimeter is. And I guess I'm going to ask Greg a quick question. Was that based on our flight this morning? Yes. Okay, awesome. This is based on the perimeter this morning as we flew and looked at it. We're going to start, let's see, that is on the, this is on the Mexico border. And this is actually the portion in Mexico, and it is cold. There's no smoke coming off that. There's some guys out there the previous days that did some work to secure that perimeter. That was from the Mexican side. No U.S. personnel were over on that side. And as we go around, we're starting from the memorial, going along the east side and kind of looking at some of the areas. The spot on the screen, wish I had a laser pointer, but we're passing the ICP. You can see the blowout from Ash Canyon up on the right side of the screen, kind of middle, and then as we go up a little higher, that's the blowout from, I believe that's Stump Canyon. And then we'll go up a little farther and hit the blowout from last night, which was from the mouth of Miller up into the area between Hereford Road and Ramsey Road. As we start coming back around, the fire has hung up in Carr Canyon. We did some firing operations last night, taking up the Carr Canyon Road up to Carr Reef, and the fire is up on the reef itself, burning across that flat. But we did check the spread down low by doing some firing operations last night. And looking at, took my eyes off of it for a second, but I believe we're going over the top of Carr Peak and Miller Peak. Not quite yet, but we're getting close. And the fire on the back side, we're coming around now where the fire is actually on the back. It's burned kind of through Copper Canyon into Blind Canyon, and it's making some substantial runs up that south-facing slope in some really heavy timber. And part of the problem yesterday were those runs of the fire going up the slopes and throwing heat into that Miller Canyon area. And here we are kind of back to the start at the Mexican border. So if you would mind going to the area yesterday outside of around Ramsey Road. To explain, as I started out talking about yesterday, when the fire actually started building heat in about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it was very intense, very fast, that we made a decision very timely to pull our crews out of there and move them down the canyon, and they got out just in the nick of time. And because of the weather and the way that the terrain was aligned, we had quite a firefight on our hands. Now, I will say that we had some really good cooperation and coordination yesterday. Chief Miller with Fry Fire District, Chief Redmond from Sierra Vista, Chief Hunter from down in the Palominos district, and local resources. We were pretty well dialed in together whose responsibility was where and what we would do when the thing came out, because we were very restricted yesterday because the air support couldn't fly. The winds at the airport yesterday were gusting nearly 50, 60 miles per hour, and the aircraft couldn't launch. So we were really in a bad situation with no air support. But what we did, because of our coordination and some of the things that we put in place late in the evening the day before and early in the morning yesterday, we were able to, when the fire crossed the lines and started pushing towards Highway 92, we were able to hold that along Highway 92 almost all the way to Ramsey. And I'll just tell you, I was watching from the north side, trying to coordinate resources up there, and it was a tremendous effort and tremendous exercise and coordination between all the forces on the ground. There were a lot of moving parts out there. I guarantee you, it was just absolutely phenomenal how many red lights and blue lights, fire and smoke and heat and everything else in the world. And I'm looking at this. It looks like a scene from Armageddon. And right in the middle, my phone rang. I'm thinking it's somebody needing help or I need to do something. And it was my daughter-in-law and granddaughter wishing me Happy Father's Day. So it was, I said, you guys, you can't even begin to imagine the scene I'm looking at right now. My granddaughter, she's just almost 2 years old, just, hi, G-Paw. So anyway, little sidebar there. But I have to say, Chief Miller and Redmond, Flip Elliott with State of Arizona, these guys are warriors. They were out there. It was a battle, was it not? And I want to thank Chief Miller, Chief Redmond. It could have been really bad had we not been dialed in together. So I want to thank these guys again for being a part of a big team effort. Today's activities, we did take a flight early this morning. And late in the afternoon, we looked at a number of places. Our fire behavior today was moderated because the weather was much more cooperative with us. The humidities still weren't that great, but the winds were certainly in our favor. They were light and pushing from the northwest to the southeast, which was very good for us to buy us time to get more things in place in Ramsey Canyon and at the mouth of Ramsey and on over to Fort Huachuca. We did some firing activities last night. We, as I mentioned earlier, hung it up on Carr Road, going up to the Carr Reef, tied it in. And so that we also, at the same time, while this is going on, I kind of tend to focus on where the activity was the greatest, but that's not the only place we have people out working. It's very critical that we keep firefighters in the areas that burned last night, the day before, and the day before that to make sure that the fuels and the areas that have burned are cold and mopped up. So we have a lot of people out there doing work to ensure that those areas are secure and they won't come back to life and get going again. So we continue to have people out there at night, during the day, patrolling, looking for smokes. At the same time, we have people in the air watching for anything that might pop up. So we're working really hard to make sure that the places behind us are secure and are no longer any threat. One of the things that we looked at late in the day and coordinating with Chief Miller, with Colonel Faulkner from Fort Huachuca, Flip Elliott, and also the Sierra Vista Ranger District, we have came up with a game plan that we established some dozer lines last night, some hand lines and some things at the mouth of Ramsey. At the same time, there's lots of activities going on inside Ramsey Canyon to lessen the blow. We've had crews working up and down Ramsey Road, trimming brush. The county, and want to thank the county for supplying trucks to be able to haul the chips away. We've got in and made lines around the Nature Conservancy and all the way around Ramsey Canyon to mitigate the fire's intensity as it gets down to the lower part of the canyon. The one thing that is going to really help a lot also is this lines that we built last night and the day before and today. We are building a parallel line that's going to be a 1/4 mile to a 1/2 mile farther to the north, that's in light fuels. No structures going to be involved in this. And then tonight, starting at about 1900 to 2100, if we get all the lines constructed, we're going to start burning out between these two lines starting at the garden fire, working our way back toward Carr, where the black is. And what that does is it'll create a quarter to half mile wide black buffer in the light fuels that'll help us, if you want to say it, have a big catcher's mitt that if the fire were to come blowing out of Ramsey or any part of Ramsey or Carr, we'll already have an area there that's going to help us to stop that spread from making it into Sierra Vista. So we really put our heads together early or mid-afternoon, started looking at this. The equipment's in place. They're working now to push the lines in. And we have some really good equipment operators and people dialed into this. And so if you look out tonight and you see some increase in activity and a glow that way, that's what we're doing. It's something that we're doing to take the fight on our terms and try to keep this fire from blowing out of Ramsey Canyon and threatening additional structures and causing more evacuations. Thank you. The last piece of the puzzle will be when we go from Fort Huachuca through Garden Canyon south. We've got some folks that'll be in there tomorrow, and we will be starting. It's very narrow and very brushy through the mouth when you leave Huachuca to Gate 7. We've got a lot of equipment, a lot of manpower, and a lot of expertise. We're going to start in there probably tomorrow to start some mitigation work, widening the road, and making that our west control line. We'll go in and tie in Forest Road 61 to Montezuma Pass and get that whole west side and south side blocked off. Spent a flight with Colonel Faulkner this afternoon looking at that and trying to get things coordinated with the post, and things are looking really good as far as to make that happen. So we're very, very upbeat and very confident that we're starting to turn the corner here and getting things in place, getting things aligned. One of the things I thought about today as I flew and looking at that area, it's a large area. It's a very large area. But when a fire burns, a lot of times we have unburned islands, and if we can do this on our terms and bring low intensity fire or lower intensity than a running crown fire through that, we'll minimize the damage and hopefully to make sure we have some ground cover on there when the monsoons come and minimize that soil movement that's associated with the fires and once we start getting rain. So with that, that's kind of the day's activities, where we're going in the next few. And again, just we're working hard, and hopefully we can get you guys back in your homes and everybody be safe. Thank you.
Now I'd like to invite the Chief of Fry Fire District, Bill Miller.
Well, folks, I'm kind of sorry to actually be up here because I'd rather be at home and hope that none of this actually happened to our community. The first thing I'd like to say on behalf of all the firefighters, if your home has been affected by this tragedy of this fire, they are truly sorry they couldn't save your home. I mean, our guys are doing everything they possibly can to save homes. So that's tough. So it's been a long 9 days. That's all I can tell you. Your local firefighters, I want to say the Fire Department, Service Fire Department, the local Forest Service guys here in Sierra Vista, the local BLM guys, Fort Huachuca, and all of our county-wide mutual aid partners have been a part of this fire since its beginning, its inception, and we continue to be here. I was born and raised here. I was actually born up in Fort Huachuca back in '57, so I've been in this community a long time. I'm a true native here, and the community outpour has been outstanding. I can't say enough about Sierra Vista and the surrounding communities in providing food, sunscreen, lip balm. I mean, you name it, you guys have provided it for us. And the firefighters truly, truly appreciate that. And with that, we're here for the duration. We're going to assist this Type 1 team the best way we can. Our whole goal here has been in a backup relationship with the Type 1 team, and they have used us, and we've been working together. We've had a little rough start at the beginning, but we are working together to make sure that we protect the community and anything else that happens. I think the burn plan this evening is going to be a great plan. We certainly want to get you folks back in your home as soon as possible and try to return to a normal activity here in Sierra Vista. And, that's why we all moved here. We love Sierra Vista. And I'm really up here to really thank all the support from Chief Redmond, myself, and the other local fire chiefs. My phone has not stopped ringing because they're all willing to come over here and help our community in any way possible by backfilling our station. But the bottom line here, I'm telling you on behalf of Chief Redmond and myself, is we want to get back to regular business. We do 700 calls a month without this other stuff going on. My guys are exhausted. His guys are exhausted. And I'm sure you all, especially have been affected by this fire, want to go home and let's turn back this community, back to Sierra Vista and the other local residents. And on behalf of your local firefighters, we thank each and every one of you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief. Sheriff Deaver, please.
Thank you. A lot of frustration, a lot of anger, and a lot of, what happens next questions out there, and we get bombarded with them every day. And my parents are both living, so I don't know what it's like to lose a mom or a dad. I've never been booted out of my house for a period of time or asked to at least leave and be away from it involuntarily for a significant period of time. So I can sit up here and say, I feel your pain, but I don't know what that's like. But I'm sorry we're going through this, and we are doing everything we can. You've heard us here several times. You're going to hear it again to get you back home as quickly as we can and as safely as we can, not only for your own welfare, but the welfare of the guys that are out there working this. One of my boys is a paramedic firefighter with Sierra Vista Fire Department. He started his career with Fry, and he's been out on the line. He said, Dad, he texted me and said, Dad, are you going to a meeting tonight at Buena? And I said, yeah. He said, would you please tell the people there that we tried our best for those who have lost their homes, and we just couldn't get it done. And it was just bigger than we were. And that's been this event really from the get-go. It got bigger, faster than we did. And I feel confident today, and seeing what I've seen today and listening to what I've heard today, that we are turning the corner and we're going to get you home. Understand the process of doing that, and I'm going to sit down here in a minute and have my chief come address that process here for a minute, is designed to assure that we don't get 10,000 looky-loos running through your neighborhood to see what's going on, because they will come. Just out of curiosity, and you don't need to deal with that when you start coming back home. You need to have access and have some privacy and be able to get there. We also don't need 10,000 looky-loos interfering with the ongoing efforts to restore power, to maintain the fire lines and all that. And that considered, and the safety and welfare of you and the people working this thing is primary. The chief is going to let you know tonight we've already made an announcement of some lifting of some evacuations. For those who don't know, please understand, we have pre-evacuation, and that is a notice that things might get a little dicey coming your way, and be aware and be alert and be prepared. When we have what we call mandatory evacuation, it is an advisory to you to get out because you are in extreme danger. Now, you may not see that. And that decision is based on what we get from the people who understand and have spent their lives understanding and learning to understand fire behavior and the personality that these fires take on, to include the prognosis or the projection of what it's likely to do based on weather conditions. And so we take all that into consideration. I had a guy email me the other day, and he said, Larry, you can't make me leave my house. I said, you are right. You're absolutely correct. And I have no intention of doing that. What I am telling you is if you don't leave and you get in trouble at the last minute, there's likely not going to be anybody come help you. So you make that choice and you make that decision, because we're going to be busy doing some other things. So please understand that, and that's kind of where we're coming from. Some of it, I will tell you, this event is unprecedented in my 35 years of law enforcement history in Cochise County. We've had a lot of fires. We've never had anything like this, and finally, I think we're catching up to it, and hope we can indulge your understanding and your continued support and helping us get this done. So thanks, Chief. If you want to explain to them what's in the process right now in terms of lifting evacuation, and how you can return there.
Well, good evening, folks. I'm going to start with, I guess, the bad news. As a result of yesterday's fire, we lost 4 businesses and 14 residential structures. The businesses were located in Nicksville on the west side of Highway 92 there at Hereford Road. The remainder of the buildings we lost are residential structures. We lost one on the west side of Highway 92, just north of Carr Canyon Road, the Mesquite Tree Restaurant. If you know where that's at, back behind Bonnie's Lounge, we lost one residential structure there. The rest of the structures are located in an area to the east of Highway 92 and south of Ramsey Road, bordered on the east side by Calle Lima and going down to Y Lightning Ranch Road. Those 2 roads would be the eastern boundary. And then Calle de la Fresa going back to the west. I believe it's Foothills Ranch Estates appears to be unharmed. So if your home is not within the area that I just described, then you did not lose your home. Okay? And now, I'd like to read off the information on the, before I go to that, I have copies of these maps available outlining the area. If you're interested, we'll have those available up here after the meeting. Unfortunately, I don't have extra copies of what I'm about to read because we just got it written up and handed to me literally as I was running out the door to come up here. Pre-evacuation areas. These areas are being released from mandatory evacuation back to pre-evacuation status based on the conditions that residents are prepared to re-evacuate at a moment's notice. West of 92, Ramsey Road, north to Buffalo Soldier Trail, and west to Fort Huachuca. East of Highway 92, Ramsey Road north to Buffalo Soldier Trail and east to Aqueduct Road, south to Hereford Road, and west to Highway 92. If the residents return home and discover damaged or lost structures, they are asked to make contact with our office to confirm that the address is on the damaged and lost list. Closures and evacuations. West of Highway 92, Ash Canyon north to Ramsey Canyon Road. So again, from Ramsey Canyon Road down to Ash Canyon on the west side of Highway 92 remains closed. East of Highway 92, Ramsey Road east to Aqueduct, south to Hereford Road, and then to Highway 92. Ramsey Road is open from Aqueduct Road east to the San Pedro River. Hereford Road is open from Y Lightning Ranch Road east to the San Pedro River. Mandatory evacuations to remain until further notice. As of 5 o'clock p.m. today, we have mandatory evacuations of the following. West of Highway 92, Stump Canyon north to Ramsey Canyon Road. East of Highway 92, Three Canyons Road north to Hereford Road. And we have some advisories. All residents in the pre-evacuation areas are encouraged to be ready at a moment's notice. All residents in this area will be encouraged to make advanced arrangements for livestock and large animals to be moved, which will allow an evacuation process to run more smoothly if necessary. The Cochise County Sheriff's Office has resource information available to help move large animals. Anyone needing assistance is asked to call our office at 432-9500, and we will be able to give phone numbers to the volunteers to help in this effort. Anyone with special needs, such as mobility issues or medical problems, are asked to make pre-plans to include where they will go and what they will need to take with them. All residents are asked to be prepared with a go bag, which needs to include medications, important papers, money, and enough personal items to sustain you for at least the next several days. The Cochise County Sheriff's Office is asking the citizens to please be patient during this very trying time. Public safety officials are doing everything possible to get people to safety in a timely and professional manner, so the cooperation of the public is critical. Re-entry information. And this applies down south. Effective at 3 o'clock today, residents on the following streets will be allowed to their homes. Residents must report to the Palominas Fire Station at 9695 East Highway 92 between 3 and 9 p.m. today and between noon and 9 p.m. tomorrow to verify their address and sign up for the re-entry permit before going home. Permit specifics will be explained at the Palominas Fire Department. And that's the fire department on Highway 92 next to the Feral Gas business. And now I'm going to read off a long list of names. Andalusian, Arab, Big Oak, Big Spur, Black Bear Oak, Blue Oak, Briley, Bull Rope, Bunkhouse, Calle Cola Blanca, Cool Oaks Road, Covey Run, Darley, I'm not sure how to pronounce this one, Elonia, East Indigo Sky Road, East Thompson Park Road, Fairfield, Grand Oak, Hackney, Herder, Heritage Oak, Hickory, Hidden Oak, Hunter Creek, Kenjacity, La Pradera, Lipizan, Mighty Oak, Molly, Morgan, Mule Oak, Oak Ridge, Palisades, Paseo Venado, Polo, Red Oak, Roaring Oak, Roberto, Ruby, Saddlehorn, Schoolhouse, Seven Oaks, Sexton, Shire, Silver, Concho, Silver Leaf, Silver Thorn, Sophia, South Rock Ridge Road, Stone Ridge Road, Sun Quail, Swiss, Three Canyons, Vaquero, Welch, White Leaf Wilderness. This area includes south of Three Canyons, east of Highway 92, Stone Ridge, south of 92, which includes Thompson Peak, Rock Ridge Road, and Indigo Sky Road. Prince Placer Road, west of Stone Ridge, will remain closed. And there's information here on the evacuation centers, but I think I'll defer to our friend from the Red Cross to address that. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be available after the meeting to meet with you back here. I know there was a lot of information here, and it's like reading stereo instructions. So I'll be here at the back of the room when we're done with the meeting to answer your questions. Thank you.
Now a word from Pat Call, the County Board of Supervisors.
Thank you. Good evening. I was just listening to the barking dog out there. The dog sounded like a few folks who were letting me know how unhappy they were earlier today about not being able to go home, but this is really good news tonight here that we're taking people home. Very quickly, what we're starting to deal with at the county, I mentioned last night that I'd requested the National Guard. Senator Griffin's going to update us on that and what's going on today. But we're going to continue to supply heavy equipment for the Forest Service to work up in the mountains. We're also, as I mentioned before, start talking about the what happens next questions that Larry referred to. We're starting to talk about getting rid of the debris, particularly in the areas that are most heavily hit. We're going to start with roll-offs in the Ash Canyon area, obviously, and up Stump, and then move to the areas that were affected last night. Some other questions we're going to have to do about rebuilding homes, rebuilding businesses. The governor is sending down an IA expert, an individual assessment person. We're going to probably set them up in the Foothills Conference Facility in Sierra Vista somewhere maybe this Friday, so people can come in and start asking questions about insurance and rebuilding and things like that. We'll have more information regarding that probably in the next couple of days. And then we'll be working with the folks from the Forest Service as to what happens next regarding flooding and protecting structures as we move into the future and hopefully further and further away from this event. So that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
And from the City of Sierra Vista, Mayor Rick Mueller.
Thank you, Trina. Even though I've attended all the meetings, the public meetings in the evenings, this is the first opportunity I've had to publicly address the gathering. I want to start by expressing my personal thanks and the thanks of the citizens of Sierra Vista and our community to the federal incident team and their firefighters, the local firefighters, and the law enforcement personnel. I'd ask you to give them another round of applause, please. The city is continuing to make information a priority, updating our website, Facebook page, the Channel 12 sites, and using Twitter. The city's Emergency Operations Center is in constant contact with the Type 1 team, as well as the Sheriff's Office and the Joint Information Team to ensure the information is timely and accurate. The city's website is receiving, you ready for this? Over 2,000% more traffic than it normally does. And this has caused it to bog down a little bit in the last 24 hours, as you might imagine. The city's website vendor is transitioning to the site to its own server, so that should relieve the issue. The next item is shelter operations. Today is transition day. As you may be aware, the city's been running the shelter. Today we're transitioning with the Red Cross. Their folks are here. And we're still waiting for one qualified shelter manager. They were working on a guy out of Las Vegas. I guess he's spending too much time in the casino, but he should be on the way in a couple of days. But the important thing is the transition of the management of the shelters should be seamless, and we're working, Craig and I are working very hard to make sure that that happens. The library reopened this morning at 10 a.m. The city has 18 public computers available for internet use, as well as free Wi-Fi in the library area, both inside and outside. The library closes at 5 p.m., but the lobby will remain open until 10 p.m., so residents who need to use the Wi-Fi continue to have access. In addition, the city has set up a joint information center, drop-in center in the lobby of the library, so you can go in and look at maps and get the latest information in hard copy. And that's the same information that's provided by calling into the Joint Information Center. Some good news, the State Library has offered the use of 20 notebook computers. Our Information Technology Department has developed a plan, has been working very hard to ensure that those computers will be operational tomorrow morning. And again, the library is open from 10 to 7 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The city has closed the operations at Ethel Berger Center and Oscar E. Roon Center, and those are closed today to allow the city to tap into the staff from the Leisure Services Department to help with shelter operations, the information center, and other emergency response. And as mayor, I'd like to also mention that you got some great city employees who are in fact evacuees like you are, at least 30 of them, that went down, evacuated their families, came back to work, and they are working to make sure that your community remains a great place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Agency administrators from the Forest Service, Kevin Martin.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Martin. I'm a forest supervisor from Oregon, and I've come down to assist the forest, the district, and Forest Supervisor Jim Upchurch as they work through all the many fires that they're dealing with, and potentially some more as long as we have these tough conditions. A couple of things that I've really noticed since I've gotten down here is and you've heard it all night, the cooperation between the communities, the agencies, all the organizations. It's pretty amazing. Probably better than anywhere I've ever been on any large event like this, and it's pretty. And being, people see my tag on here and they know that I'm not from around here, and so the community is just incredibly welcoming also. I go to a store, go to a restaurant, or I stop around town somewhere to get gas, and people wonder where I'm from, and they're just so thankful and welcoming. It really feels good to be here. These are some of the most amazing and tough conditions that I've ever seen firefighting in also. It's dry, the winds we've had, the way the fires moved, it's incredible. And the firefighters from all these agencies are doing an amazing job. And I think there's really an opportunity here, as I've been here, for others maybe to take a look at what's going on down here and learn from both the examples of cooperation that's going on and some of the firefighting tactics and some of the things that folks are doing. I think there's a huge opportunity for other communities to learn from that. One thing the forest is starting to think about is some of the restoration activities. The county commissioner talked about working together to be preparing ourselves for future floods and other events. We're starting to think about that. We're starting to bring some folks in to take a look and start preparing for that. One thing, this thing's going to be around a while still. We're going to be working on this thing for many days to come. And so again, thank you for being patient with us and being so supportive.
Now a word from State Senator Gail Griffin.
Thank you. Certain protocols have been called in, and as we announced last week that the county declared their emergency, that went to the governor's office. She declared within 12 hours the state declaration of emergency and had the National Guard on standby. The National Guard has been called in by the governor. It's being called into action and will be arriving this evening and tomorrow morning. More National Guard will be standing by, and the governor is ready to call more into action as necessary. So you will start seeing them coming in this evening and in the morning. So they are here to help. The state is here to help, and we look forward to helping you answer your questions and whatever your needs are. So thank you.
Thank you, Gail. SSVEC, Jack Blair.
As we talked yesterday, on Sunday, probably late in the morning, we had restored most of the services to the area that had suffered the outages earlier. I think we all know what happened yesterday on Sunday, and due to the fire and the smoke, our 69 kilovolt line, or the big line that feeds into our Ramsey substation, went down late in the afternoon. That caused our Ramsey substation to go down. That's up there by Stan Greer Millworks. And obviously when that went down, the lines that go from our substation out to our members' homes and businesses went down. It was kind of hard to determine at that point in time exactly what had happened. We had our fingers crossed and had hoped, and I reported here that it was really due to the amount of carbon released by the smoke. That gets in there, it causes our lines to arc, and that shuts our system down. So as we always do, we waited a little while, hopefully, until the smoke and the fire had cleared the area. The wind was strong enough that it would have knocked the carbon particles off. So we started to re-energize our lines. So we were able to get the 69 kilovolt line going into the substation. But as we began to turn the lines leading out of the substation, unfortunately, we were only able to get a couple of them on. It was dark, so we couldn't really determine, get in there and see what the damage was. So at dawn this morning, we went back in to determine why the feeder lines out of the substation weren't working, and we found a significant amount of damage, and the damage was fairly widespread. We spent the rest of the day really kind of assessing the situation, determining what we could do. In many instances, what we were able to do was reroute power from one line to the other to turn people back off, and that's what we did today. If you came in and if you don't have a copy, we have a map here. And just to give you an idea, when I handed this map out, I believe it was Saturday, we had 12 areas. Now that map includes 28 areas, so as you can see, a significant increase here. And what we have done is divided the areas that are affected by the outage into 25 different areas. I'd like to tell you that if it says, as an example, number 1, emergency repairs complete, power restored, there could be 1 or 2 meters in the area that for some odd reason don't have power restored. We need you to call us, but by and large, those areas have been the repairs complete, power restored. If it says emergency repair complete and no power, that means we have basically fixed the line. But for a variety of reasons, normally safety, we're not ready to energize that line yet. Under construction is pretty self-explanatory. There's a couple here that says emergency power or emergency repairs have been completed, partial power. That means, once again, it's been safe to turn some of that area on, and the other part of it, it's not safe. We still have some areas that are under assessment. They're working now as we talk to try to figure out where we're going to reroute power or build. And I do have an update. If you have the map in front of you, areas 21, 22, and 23 where it said no power, but we've completed repairs. The good news is power has been restored to those areas. So that pretty much ends my update. At the end of this meeting, Daniel Wilson, who's one of our engineers, and myself will be in the back room if you have any specific questions for us. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jack. From the Red Cross, Craig Brailsford.
Yeah, I just have 10 real quick information items we want to share with you. Number 1, we still have 3 of the evacuation shelters are open. The one at the middle school, which has a capacity of 100. Here we have 400 as a capacity, and over at Bisbee High School we also have 100. Last night we had 160 residents who chose to spend a night in one of the shelters. One point relative to that, I would ask if you know someone who may be in need of sheltering tonight, encourage them to come here simply because of the capability, the size. We have more room available here than at the other 2. The other piece of that is we start to return to our homes. We're hopefully going to merge the 2 programs into one. The one at the middle school merging with the one that's here, and both would be in effect functioning here. Obviously that all depends on what happens on the mountain, but as of tonight, all 3 are still open and available. Item number 3, I want to mention Cochise College. A lot of us perhaps didn't realize this, but we've been having families housed at the college. I know it's a considerable drive, but the situation availability-wise is this. We currently have 15 families staying there, and they were there last night, and they have reservations for tonight. We have 9 rooms available at Cochise College. The thing that we're asking is that you call ahead, because we wouldn't want someone to drive all the way over there and find out that the rooms had been taken. You call, get the reservation, it makes the drive much shorter. That number, by the way, is 520-234-2950. 520-234-2950. Call ahead. Item number 4, the Salvation Army tomorrow morning will begin serving hot meals here and at Apache Middle School. Breakfast will be served at 8 o'clock, lunch at 12, dinner will be at 5. Now, our plans are, again, if the mountain cooperates, that we will, the timing on those that I just mentioned, I did not mention a dinner meal for Apache. Our hope is we'll have breakfast and lunch at Apache for the residents that are in that shelter, and then transition folks over to here, and then have a larger evening meal here for everybody. The next item has to do with insurance. This specifically deals with active duty military or retired military. If this doesn't apply to you directly, listen carefully, because I think it may apply to you in general. I spent time this morning talking with the claims adjustment supervisor in San Antonio with USAA Insurance, and they indicated very clearly this: if you have a homeowner's policy or a rental policy with USAA and you were involved in a mandatory evacuation, there's nothing that I said that involved damage to the property. So if you were in a mandatory evacuation, regardless of whether the property was damaged, you're eligible for up to 2 weeks of motel lodging at their expense through reimbursement. So if you find yourself in that situation, keep your receipts, give them a call, and let me give you the number. Okay, it's 800-531-8722. That's 800-531-8722. But again, obviously individual circumstances would apply, but save your receipts, and if you have questions, give them a call. The next item, if you have insurance with another insurer, I quite frankly just did not have time to research any beyond what I just explained. But what I would do is simply check your policy, call your claims number. Now, relative to that, Mike Benson with TDY Housing has some excellent specific information on that very issue. He's here tonight, he's in the audience, and in our earlier discussion he commented what a cool vest I had, and since he did that, when we get to the question phases, he gets to be first in line. And when he's first in line, he's going to take just a couple of minutes, share some information, and it may take questions that you have out of the sequence. You may not even have to ask them. So I think that'll save everybody a little bit of time. Next item. There's a website with a Red Cross that's very unique. It's called the Safe and Well website. I want to introduce you to it briefly. The concept is it allows you to register and notify loved ones anywhere in the United States and let them know in an event like this, you're safe, you're okay. All that you have to do is simply get online at this website, register, name, address, phone number, that type of thing, plug in a little narrative, perhaps say what hotel you're staying at or where you are, that type of thing. And it's there, and then anyone in the United States can simply do a search and pull it up, and pull the information up. To do that, rather than give you the specific website, because it's a real long string, the easy thing to do, simply go to Google, hit Red Cross, Safe and Well, it'll pop right up. To make it even easier, we have a table outside on the way out that'll do it for you. if you're interested in doing that. But it's an amazing concept, not just for this time, but when something like this happens again in one's life, just to keep in mind this capability. The other thing, just as a reminder, we've said this each night, if you've experienced a loss of property, again, be sure and register at the Red Cross table, either here or over at Apache, to get that process started. The mayor mentioned that you have some Red Cross personnel resources starting to appear, more today than yesterday and probably more tomorrow than today. And the intent is just to alleviate some of that gap that has to happen when your community volunteers have to go back to work. Unfortunately, the normal needs of the city don't stop when events like this happen. And I know everybody's been volunteering and you're just exhausted to the point of not being able to function, but we've got to go back to work, and the city's got to get on with taking care of the needs that it normally has to. The last item, I want money. Here's what I'm interested in. If you're interested in donating to the Red Cross, I should compliment a huge number of folks in the community have already done this, and the thing you need to be complimented about is the fact you designated it to Cochise County wildfire, and that means the money's coming here directly. So if you're interested in a donation, and there's no amount is too small, I have a website that's very simple, www.Red Cross Arizona, all one word, redcrossarizona.org, and the 800 number is 800-341-6943. 800-341-6943. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Craig. So we're bumping our hour time frame here, so I know